Hello, and welcome to Urban Hood Money Talk. It's a fact that we need money to enjoy life and focus on the things that we really like. I'm your co host, Allie, and I'm here with Mushi Buyan.
Everything I am sharing is all educational purpose only. I will be sharing some of the tickets. Uh, it's going to be only my opinion only, but it doesn't mean that it is a financial advice. So please, by all means, do your own research and before you start investing money in stock market. We advise people first play with the paper trading if you are new to the market and just learn how things works and then play with your real money. So now that disclaimer is out of the way, let's talk about what happened last week. If you see on the left side that most of the indices here, the S&P 500, last week it was 4.7% up. But if you look at it year over year, it's already 21% down for since January till October now. But then look at Nasdaq. Nasdaq is even more, 30% down for the whole year, but last week it put 5.2% up. And Dow, I guess, similar, but still, according to these three, Dow is better shape for only 14% down. But last week, all three indices did very well. The main reason it happened in the last week that the earnings for a while, last 2 weeks, the earnings, the market was looking for how the banking earnings, which is positive. And the next positive happened. Netflix had a very good earnings, and a couple other earnings also came out very well. So investors responded very positively for last week. So now what's gonna happen next week? What do you guys think? What's gonna happen? So what you are looking at, you're looking at SPY, what I just showed you. But look at this. Last 7 weeks, SPY is like top 500 companies you can think of here in the market. But last 6 7 weeks, look at that. Every week it's like it went down. It went down from around 419 since August 20, since August 22nd till last week. Last week, week before last week, that you see that it went down as low as almost like 357. But last week, all it just moved up a little bit, not like too much, it high. But if I look at the last 7 8 weeks, it doesn't give me confidence knowing that we are out of the wood yet, right? So now, if I look at daily, what happens on the daily side? Yeah, last week, yeah, excuse me. You see that last week it did on Tuesday, it almost touched 375, and Friday it did not even go above that number. It stayed there. So if I look at last week from Monday till Tuesday, what really happened on this day? Yeah, Netflix earnings came out that day, just be hyped. But after Netflix earnings, market didn't really respond too positive. It just stayed, if you look at it, stayed within the same Monday till Friday. So if I look at this chart, it doesn't give me confidence knowing that this coming week, will be back. It can go higher. If you look at the last few weeks here, you see that here it happened October, beginning October. Yeah, it touched 379, and then it just came down. But if I go back even earlier, there is not like really too much happened on the monthlies actually. Look, last few months, every month it came down, came down, came down. So it's not like only the month of August it tried to do a false alert going up, but it didn't happen really. So it just came down worse. So this week it doesn't, there is not enough confidence knowing that it's going to go higher. Sometimes it could be false alert, but there are other things that you may need to look into. Yes, yeah. Give me a second. Still folks are trying to get in. And what is the Nasdaq? QQQ. If you look into QQQ, that kind of gives us an access to what's really happened on the Nasdaq side. Back similar story on the Nasdaq too. If you see, since last year November, every month Nasdaq came down. Nasdaq, all the technology, and same is can pretty much staying the similar pattern, just like what we saw on S&P, SPY. Just last week, you see that if those who is technical, it's almost like it's a doji. It's trying to give a signal, but it did not figure out. The body is so tiny, you cannot tell it's positive or it's gonna happen next week. But we know this coming week there are a lot of earnings coming up. That's going to give us strong signal what really is going to happen. On the daily side, it has a good momentum. Last same way like SPY, last 5 days it did well. Same thing, you see that Tuesday, same story like S&P. Tuesday it touched 277 to there. On Friday it didn't even close there yet. So it just lost whatever it gained on the day of Tuesday. So look at this coming week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Every day that there are some huge one coming out. But Monday, yeah, Logitech and then Zion, Discover, these financials, some of them are coming out. Monday is not really going to give much signal, where Tuesday is the ones in the morning, Coca-Cola's earning coming, GM earning, Auto, GM, GE, 3M, there are earning coming, and airlines, JetBlue, we'll see on Tuesday morning. But then on Tuesday afternoon, market close, Microsoft. If you look at Microsoft, Apple, and Google is coming, Apple is coming on Thursday, Amazon coming, and also on Thursday. So you see Tuesday and Thursday is going to be big these 2 days. And Wednesday is Meta, Facebook is coming out. So these 3 days is going to tell us what really is going to happen on the market. Is this going to go upside or is going to pull back? So last 2 weeks, it was just a signal that investors feel like so far banking and couple business what came up, they are meeting the expectation. It's not like anyone went really super high enough that way it's giving us total signal as if we are out of the wood yet. So I would be very careful this coming week if you are trying to get in any of the stock here that you like, and not to get in just before the earnings coming in. Apple, this is what it shows you: Apple, Microsoft, Google. This year from January till now, you see the Google almost lost 30% this year, Microsoft 28%, and Apple only 7% is lost. So if you are trying to buy something for the long term and know that, hey, what business might be going, or if there is something on sale cheap, I would highly advise you, just if you are familiar with this company or you want to learn more about it, do that. And that might pay off for you long term. I did share earlier with some of the folks that tonight I'm going to share some of the things, and I'm going to share what I'm thinking, and then you decide if that's something you want to also consider. But I am thinking Microsoft and Google. I'm going to put less bet on Apple. I figured in Apple already 17% down. Comparing those two has a better price model. If I'm looking at the price side, on Google, last quarter Google did not meet their expectation. I do think that this time Google might surprise us, just like what happened with Netflix. If it does, Google might at least turn around. If not, Google can go down a little bit more. We'll figure out what happened. But I am not adding too much Google. If Google pull back more on this week, I will keep adding more on Google, because I know long term this is a strong company that pay. Nowadays, you see that the Google in many business, they're not in one individual business, and because it's digitalization and advertisement and media streaming and all the technology services they're doing on the business side. Also, their Google Cloud is doing very well comparing uh, other business that where we see the similar pattern. Even Microsoft also last earning, it didn't respond much. So I do think that they might come up with something more positive this time. So between these two, I am looking. If Microsoft pull back, I will add more Microsoft.
Late.
I know you're not late, but you heard about me talking about your favorite stock,
That's great.
right? But I will share my reason and Steve chime in. I know that you are also an experienced investor. You're welcome to chime in. If I look at Apple last 3 months, look at that on last few months. Apple at touch of when did it in January, it touched around 182 at that level. But since then, you can see that Apple, just like whole market, it came down and it went down almost like 129 at some point last month. It touched close to 130. It did not go the bottom of what we saw in June. But if you look at the June low, Apple went to 129. It's not far off. It very touched very much. So one thing it proved that what happened last few weeks or last few months, Apple has this very strong, what sometimes we call it this price point support. You see around 130 area is very strong. It stayed above 130 no matter what happened, Apple. So if there is a surprise, you see market happens this coming week, you might see Apple turn around. It might come down to around here, say 128.29. If it does, I'll be loading Apple because I know it's a very strong number. This 128.29, and you see that it touched this June. It touched here also how many times on before in 2020, many times it touched this price. If I look at weekly, you see the same pattern. Apple plays pretty much same way like SPY. SPY has a huge weight on Apple. You see the same pattern what we saw earlier. So what's gonna happen this week earnings? We'll find out. Like last time. Anything else do you want to add, Steve, or anyone about Apple before I move to next one?
Well, definitely Apple is always going to be a win. Just always own that and you'll do fine. Even in a slowing economy, if we go through a recession, Apple's still gonna still do well for you.
Yes. And if Apple on their earnings, they even talk about anything like in EV market and stuff, we know there is a rumor coming in, and they already are coming up with some new product in iPad Pro and stuff. They mentioned they're coming up. But if there are some new things they're going to come up holiday time, you might see that Apple is coming back. Here you see that 150 is a very strong price point that Apple can come here. Okay. Okay, Microsoft. You see the similar pattern Microsoft played, just like same all of them. It came back, and then in the June, if I look at the June low, Microsoft, you see that here Microsoft went to 19. If I'm coming back here, this is the April, May, and June. It stayed in June. And now the June, where is the June? Its June low was around 120, 236. But you see the Microsoft has a bigger. It did this month. It went it just went below June low. It touched almost 219. So if Microsoft can do a surprise, I wouldn't be surprised to see Microsoft is coming back to at the same number what it did on early October this month. Okay, we have seen that Tesla and others same thing. If there is a surprise, they're missing and surprise in the market, there will be. This is going to be very bargain price if it happens. And as I said, if it come down below 220, 220 to 30, like a June below, I am going to keep adding Microsoft a lot. This is for long term. It's a strong, very strong company. And then when I say long term, I mean at least you are looking at 18 months, 1 year, 18 months, 2 years. Okay. Minimum 1 year, I'm talking about. Weekly, look at weekly on the Microsoft time. Same thing, what we saw, Apple. Similar story is telling us Apple, just nothing new. So, but as far as that between Microsoft and what I just showed you earlier, that Apple, Microsoft almost lost 28% since beginning this year. So Microsoft has a higher chance to turn around the comparing the movement, what we see that might happen with Apple and others. Okay, and because it's cheaper for the long term, that's what my reason that why I think I'm going to put more Microsoft than Apple if I see any bargain price. This is totally different story what we just saw. Microsoft and Apple, we saw this month it had a green, but you see since December last year, every month Google is keep dropping. So it dropped so much that Google even went below $100. 100, we know that Google already had a split, and before Google split, it almost touched 3,000. But since the downside happened, what happened? Google just like look here, Google 150 at some point Google was, but now where is Google? So it lost huge 30% since early. So what if Google turn around? We know that Google invested in many industries, many areas. They are not just only search engine advertisement. So if Google come out with a number and have therefore guidance is strong, if you look at last few weeks, Google is ready to turn around and come back, 110, and then slowly is going to turn around. But one of the things you see on Google, 120, 122 area, Google is very strong price. It has to go above that in order for Google knowing that it's ready to turn around on the bullish side. If Baba pull back, turn around, sell it. Do not hang on to it too long. Look at Baba. It's a bad news. If you truly believe in that, at some point, I'm sure Karthik, you and others, that I was big fan of Baba in this company. But if I look at it now, what happened since last year, November, it's sad. Everything happening in China right now is because geopolitical and in the company leadership itself is bad. It's in a position right now we do not know how bad it can go. Right? And look at it touched 70. This is crazy. It touched 70. It's even I don't know if it went below. Yeah, it did go below, touch 70. If I'm looking at last 5 years, look at last 5 years. If I look at last 5 years, you see that Baba is even below that. By looking at this, if any of you know that, do you really wanna invest a company and stick to it? No, right? You see that? Yeah. Look at even 2015. I'm going 2015. In 2015, Baba was around here, and it's almost touching. Baba was 76. Even when 2014, Baba was around 86, 76, the price. And even now, Baba is almost similar. Do you really want to keep on this and just hoping and praying is going to turn around? So we do not see a big sign, but one of the things that you have to see this coming week, that in China the President Xi is going to have a new leadership. When has his new leadership and what's his next 3 years plan and goal? Based on some of the outcome this coming week, you are going to see the company like Baba, JV and others, what's their future might be happen, especially that other countries like US, they want more visibility, more transparency, in their book and so on. If they are open on those compliance, and then they say, they will cooperate, maybe, but else Baba, has very, for the next few months, Baba, it can be struggling. You do not know if it might be just sitting around here, or you can see it can go down in maybe more. You see the 60.
Yeah, Mushi, why don't you think like companies can like Baba is expanding more and more, right? Even though the revenues and so something like it's growing big, but still, why like even though there has some issues with the Congress, but don't you think Baba will be back like in the long term?
Yes, for in the long term, yeah, Baba is a strong company. We know that strong company, but because of the leadership team, we do not know leadership and political reason. Political reason meaning, the Baba also got one of the listing that Baba can be delisted. In the whole Chinese companies, if they get delisted from New York Stock Exchange, what's going to happen? Investor, it added way more fear to people, and then that's why a lot of sell happen. You see, if you every month just selling, we said, look at this volume, huge sales, right? But if you look into China, JD, also the JD dot is it JD is Chinese company, right? This one has a better. I see this JD and Baidu. They have a better chance. And I think investors are putting more. You see that if I look at it from this year, January, and this stayed strong last few months, at least try to turn around Baidu and them. And Baba, not only their internal, their leadership team, and we know Jack Ma and the whole politicians do not get along because of some of the ant and other things Jack Ma mentioned. They're also getting punished because of that also reason. Okay. But if any of you want to invest in emerging market or Chinese market, I would highly look into others and not just do not keep adding Baba and hoping that it's going to turn around so quick. It might have a more bad news coming up. But let's see when is the earnings coming and so on.
Yeah. So so the question right now is that with Baba, would you consider yourself a long-term investor in it, or are you just trading it? So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, everything I was telling earlier, I'm not talking any day trading or even swing trading. Even swing trading, look at Baba last few months. Where is it? It's just like stay since June, July. Look at the Baba stayed even below 1. It cannot go above 100 and stay steady in that price. You see that? So even swing trade is very hard to tell next 6 months what's gonna happen, Baba. Right? But if you are thinking for next 2 years, 3 years, yeah, Baba is a strong company. Hopefully it will turn around. We do not know.
What I just wanted to say was that so if nobody was trading it, and they looked at it as a long-term investment, that this is something I would say is, to me, it's not an investment to me. So if we go back and we think about where it all came, everybody was jumping on it because they had great leadership. Jack Ma was the CEO of the company, and because Jack Ma left the company, it's a different company now. It's run by different leadership. So that's actually one thing. So when we invest into stocks or companies, we want to invest in something that we think we're going to have some type of growth. So, like I said, since he left, you don't have that leadership there. Another thing to also keep in mind is that you got to realize that Baba is actually, like as Mushi was saying, is a Chinese company, and so I've always said every single time, and I think probably the last time I've been with you guys was quite some time ago. But what I did say was that I don't believe in investing in China. So one of the things to keep in mind is that why we don't invest in China is that it's not like the American stock market where it's run by American regulations. China is still a communist country, and because they're communists, they pretty much run how they want their companies to be. And so if they say that we don't want you to be wealthy, and we don't want you to make more money, then they can always change and alter that. So that's why in my mind I believe that Chinese companies are not made for long-term investments. And the reason what we call like long-term investments is something that we consider that something that we believe that we would put our money in, and then over time it'll grow. But this is a main reason why I'm not investing in Baba, and I've told people to get out of Baba a couple $100 ago. So just to kind of close in on that, as we've seen in the charts over here, it's pretty much pure death. If you're looking at all the moving averages, it's way below the moving averages. There is no breakouts on it. And if we were to look at it as hope being a strategy, well, hope is not a strategy. So if you're a long-term investor, I would not even be in this stock at all, because you're just going to just keep just waiting for more of your money just to pretty much disappear. Now I think you were also asking about Facebook. So Facebook is actually totally different though. We're talking about an American company, so that makes all the difference though. Yeah, Facebook has definitely had a lot of a slowdown right now. And it really, like I said, comes down to your time frame. But if we were to actually stack this up against all the pretty much the FANG names, Facebook is the worst. It's the worst performer. And when I'm looking at the long term on this, it doesn't look good, because it actually breached what we call the 200-day moving average, and it has been going down since.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has taken a really big nosedive on the 50. So I think that Facebook, or what we call Meta now, is a totally different company now. I'm actually very happy to say that I actually got out of Facebook a long time ago. I took a really nice profit on it, but it's, like I said, it's different now. I don't know how things would be when it comes out with Mark Zuckerberg, but he's pretty much putting all of his eggs in where he believes that the metaverse will be something big. And so far, we haven't seen anything with that right now. So the thing is, with Meta, it's a growth company. So it really comes down to your time frame. If you believe that he can turn things around, then you're going to be waiting quite a while for that. And then the reason why we're saying that that's the case is that right now we're going into a slowing economy right now. So because we're going to something that's more slowing, and we probably looking at a possible recession next year. If we do have a recession next year, and it'll probably most likely be a mild one. But if that's the case, then we don't really want to be in growth names. And especially now, with if we are looking at the interest rates that are constantly being raised. So the next term of interest rates that we're going to be getting, we're possibly looking at another 0.75% hike, and this will be actually the fourth of the tightening cycle here. So what we want to do is we want to see inflation, just get cut. We want to see the peaking of that, and we want to see that start going down. But we also want to see the Fed stop tightening. And until the time when the Fed stops tightening, then that's when you can start seeing some of these growth names start to resume back up higher again. But until then, I'm definitely not into growth names. But like I said, if you do definitely have a 5-10 year plus time frame, then yeah, there might be a chance with Facebook. But until then, I would definitely go with any of the three picks that Mushu was mentioning before, with Google, Apple, and Microsoft. I'm a little bit different. I'm more of a believer and a fan of Apple, but I also do believe that Google and Microsoft does have a presence where they can actually make you and accumulate a lot of wealth over time. So, and of course, right now is definitely a time to buy those. If you want to get in that now, yes, I think that they're we're getting some good prices, good deals. I'm also an owner of Microsoft as well, and and the difference with Microsoft as opposed to Google is that Microsoft actually pays a dividend, so they're actually paying you to wait, while Amazon or Google, they're still what we consider like growth names. So you're still gonna have to wait for those to really tick up, because of the fact that we're not in an environment right now of growth. So, but yeah, definitely that's what my take is so far right now. I would definitely buy Apple. I believe that we did catch a little small short-term bottom on that, about at in the 130s, mid 130s, and you definitely can't go wrong with that. But yeah, I also can say that Facebook right now does look a little bit intriguing right now. We're really at multi-year lows. It's really considered right now really oversold. So yeah, you can definitely catch a couple nice bounces on that. But once again, you would have to keep a little bit longer time frame for this to actually be more profitable on that.
I hope that's clarify, Karthik, your questions about Baba and Meta.
Yeah,
No.
thank you, Steve. It was a detailed
Yeah.
explanation.
This is the educational program from a not-for-profit organization, Urbanhood. Urbanhood focus on education. Most of our education is financials, about money and how you protect and preserve your money and how you make money. Those type of sessions, most of these are free sessions we do, but we have some low cost educational classes also we do. This is an organization set up by Urban Food Alliance. It's a food bank. We are located in New Jersey. We have an office in New York, and we are also in Canada. In Canada, that we have existence. From next month, we'll have our Canada office is going to go ahead and get started. And every day we share tickers, what we buy, what we sell, and we have a trainings, bunch of training, about 200 hours of trainings, access. In the past, we used to have 2 different level of membership, gold member and platinum member. Even I know that some of you in this room that, last week we shared a couple trades that you made your money for the whole year. That some of the trades, and one of the trade is, and I also took myself. Now you're going to see that which one I took and I shared. Tesla. Look at Tesla last week, what happened, and Tesla, we know that he's a rocky star last few weeks, but what happened after earnings? He just oh come on, let me get back. After earnings, it just pulled back. When it pulled back, you see that in the 223 last few weeks since it's coming, but it stayed very strong above 200. Tesla stayed above 200 whole time, but last week on Monday or Tuesday, after the earnings coming in, or one Tuesday, you see that it came down, but Friday it surprised a lot of people. Friday Tesla was really trying to go above to 14, but before that day in earnings, you see that it touched on Wednesday, right before earning, it touched 220 to 229. So when it did touch, I was the last week I was selling Tesla, and then I bought it back. Whenever things happen, pull back, I added more because I had keep adding Tesla. And when it pulled back last week, you see the Thursday Tesla touched 209 to around there. I added on Thursday. I added on Wednesday. Wednesday it touched 202. Also, I saw that it touched 202, 203. I kept adding. On Friday, when Tesla end of the day, I did sell even more. That on Tesla, I'm doing something called cover call. So, and then if Tesla this coming week, Tesla pull back more, with the trend tells Tesla might go down more. If it does, Friday was surprise for Tesla. So I'll buy back. might sell that. Okay. But if I look at over the long term, you know that it's not only technical, there are other things involved with Tesla. Elon is already going through the crisis with Twitter. If he has to buy Twitter and close Twitter this month, he already shared that he needs to get around $10 billion that come out of Tesla. So if he sells $10 billion dollar Tesla, you know what's going to happen. It's going to go down more. So that's also another thing, that because of that surprise, that I do think that Tesla, this comes in the next few weeks, might have a surprise for more downside than upside. Okay, but daily is not. It did not surprise enough. Even if we look at the Tesla's monthly, look at the last few months, Tesla keep just going down. It's not giving any surprise. The number was okay, but it's not the best number that they came up with, if it goes upside. And those who is new on the cover call, these are the things what we do. We'll start a new session starting November, and it's going to be 8-week sessions. So what we do in those 8 weeks, we take you in a journey where we assume that you know nothing. So and all those classes are paid off. In the past, we used
that Tesla, it's a pretty good company, but the stock is not reacting as good. And what I can say is that right now, once again, we have Tesla, which is getting pretty oversold. And as of right now, I can say that you can definitely have this played as a trade as of right now, and you could probably catch a few of those bounces. But overall, we do have to keep in mind that right now the stock of Tesla is actually in a war zone right now. And of course, as you mentioned before, that there is a battle between Elon Musk's money going from here to Twitter.
Twitter, right?
And so, like, if he has to fund Twitter, which he actually overpaid Twitter for, he's gonna have to sell some of it Tesla. And so, if that's the case,
they did a number that shared it. He has to get $10 billion out from the Tesla.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then it's still on shaky grounds here. So, but once again, like I said, if you do have a long-term, thinking on this investment, you're gonna have a lot of volatility. And of course, it's always expected, because that's just the way Tesla has always been. It's always been a volatile stock. But if you are invested in this, it really comes down to you being able to withstand the punches that we're going to be getting, and a lot of the headline news. So of course, if you want to sleep at night, this probably wouldn't be one of those stocks where you could probably sleep at night. But of course, like I said, it can provide a great long-term investment. But as of right now, this is what I see until this kind of gets settled and it flattens out. Just expect it to be a chance of going down some more. And so what I'm looking at is that I do see that there is that potential where it can drop a little bit more from here.
Yeah, if you see that it can go down below 200. It's just pattern is there. You see that. All it just needs is a huge sell happened last week. You see that here. Although it came back up, you see the last Friday, but look at the volume at the bottom. More selling than buying happened. So a lot of people unloading it. Tesla, so not just it went above 210 to 212. Last Friday, afternoon was a surprise for Tesla. In the morning, whole time it was struggling to stay above 207. I think those who is already in the new paid server that you guys already saw the last Friday many times, I said Tesla this is the next resistance for short term. And when it came, it was coming down below 207. I was kept adding, for upside. So in the afternoon only it touched around 214. So like Steve said, for short term, Tesla is very volatile. You can make some short term money, but you have to be good at what you do. Apple, same pattern. Last 7-8 weeks, it came down. Last week, it had a good week on BA. But this is a strong company. We know that they changed the not only leadership, fundamental also, that I do think that this is a good business to put in for long term. So I would not add it now. I would wait if there is earnings coming up. You see that when earnings coming October, let's see how their earnings coming up, and if they can sustain this growth, then maybe it can go higher side. Else, if it goes down certain number that I had Boeing before, I made some money, I sold it, I will buy back later, but I'm not ready to buy until I see that what's going to happen with earnings and forward on Boeing. Okay. Anyone else has anything to add on Boeing?
I would say that right now it's pretty much at a critical level. When it comes down to the long investments again, this is definitely something I wouldn't be in for the long term. Yeah, it actually exploded back in 2016. It went up, and it was one of the best performers in the Dow at that time, 2016 on. So it went up parabolically, and so it reversed that, and what it is, it filled in that gap, and it came right back down, tested right back down to that 200-day moving average, and it held and it bounced again, and then now it failed right at the 50, and of course it started going back down again, and it's right pretty much here at the almost exact same spot where it dropped off during the pandemic in 2020. One thing to keep in mind is that Warren Buffett was actually a big investor of the airlines, and what he did was he actually cut his stake in the airlines. So if we follow the whales, and if he thinks that the airlines is not a good investment anymore, that might be also a consideration to not be able to invest in Boeing as well, because it looks very, very similar to if you ever seen Citibank, where the financials was doing very, very well at one time, and of course with Citibank, ever since the financial crisis, it hasn't even recovered since. So it looks very, very eerily similar to Citibank. So I once again, I wouldn't be somebody who would invest into Boeing or in the airlines. It's just one of those things where, to me, it just doesn't seem like a very, very good long-term investment. I would believe that we can always look elsewhere for better investments that will definitely grow over time. It's great that if something does grow very quickly, but of course, if that's the case, it could fall right back down to earth just as fast. And as we've seen from Boeing, where they actually topped off at all-time highs, peaked off in March of 2019, but then of course it plummeted straight back down to earth again, where it bottomed during the pandemic. So just just keep that in mind. If the big boys are not playing it, I think that's something we should also consider and think about as well.
What we saw last week, even the last 6-7 weeks, you see that this one did not behave same way what we saw Google, Microsoft, Apple. We saw last week they had a good, but this Qualcomm kept going down. But what happened, what we see the last 6-7 weeks, as it's going down, there are institutions keep adding these stock. So we do not know what might happen, but if you look at this if you are looking at for long term, this is a company that I do think that it might turn around and do well. So I'll keep an eye on this. But for me, it's bullish that is ready to turn around. You see the last 4 or 5 days, it just almost like sit around there. It didn't make a really good move. It's just killing those who does option, it's killing your premium. But long term, if you are buying in stock and stuff, this is a good good one you can consider. And we see that since institution buying this, I do think you see the last week and last few days, it might make something might coming out.
That's it for this episode, folks. Thank you for listening. And if it was helpful to you, please click the like button and follow us so that you can listen to more of our podcast. You can also visit us at urbanhood.org to learn more about our other programs. We hope you'll check in with us again. And until then, keep learning and do whatever it takes to reach financial freedom and follow your